as much as I'm excited about giving it. One of the great things in life is when you share information that you're passionate about, knowing that it's having a positive impact on other people. But there's another dynamic in place. When I share this information, I get tremendous benefit because I know it's having a positive impact. Life is very interesting and very funny. Whatever you throw out comes back to you. You've heard the phrase, what goes around comes around. Some of you have heard the phrase karma. Some of you have heard a scriptural principle, you reap what you sow. Whatever you put out comes back to you. If you put out anger or bitterness, it will come back to you. If you hurt somebody, it comes back and hurts you. Think about it. A good friend of mine were having lunch the other day, talking about this whole concept. Because if you throw out love to other people, it comes back to you. It makes you feel better. When you make someone feel good, you feel good. When you hurt somebody, you hurt yourself. If you make somebody feel bad, you feel bad. Maybe not at that instant, but it happens that way. And think about it. Knowing that if you make somebody feel bad, you will feel bad. Why would you do that? Knowing that if you hurt someone, you hurt yourself, why would you do that? Conversely, knowing that if you're throwing out love and you're projecting to other people a feeling of warmth, if you're projecting to somebody, I want to help you. If you're projecting, I love you. If you're projecting, and I'm not talking about a sexual love, I'm talking about a genuine being type of love energy. If you're projecting that, knowing that it's coming back to you 100-fold or 1,000-fold, why don't you do that more every single day? Think about it. See, when I teach you these principles, my feeling to you is excitement because I know that it can be and have a powerful, positive effect on each one of you. I have a goal that's in my priority manager, my mission in life, because people always ask me, what's your goals or objectives? And if you ask people what goals and objectives they have, a lot of times they'll give some specific objectives. And yeah, I got objectives, there's things I want, physical things. There's other sales figures I'm trying to hit, yes. But when someone asks me what my mission or what my objective or what my goal is, I always respond with the senior objective, the most important objective for me, and that's to positively impact other people. That's the objective. And when I sit here in the studio on this absolutely glorious, beautiful day here in Ojai, California, and I tell you, I'd love to be on the golf course right now, or I'd love to be hiking up the mountain. It's glorious. It is absolutely a spectacular day. Not a cloud in the sky, sunny, warm, just the air is fresh and clean, and the pleasantness in the air is just lovely. But I'm in the studio giving you this information because I know how wonderful it will be for you if you apply it. And that makes me feel great. If I was on a golf course, I'd be having a great time. But I can honestly say this. I know that I'm gaining more benefit myself by being inside sharing with you this data. I just hope that you get it. That's my dream and my goal. And I know a lot of you aren't ready to hear it. But I know that there's some of you who are listening to this tape series and are getting fired up. Is it you? Are you the one? If you ever heard me live on stage, many times I've made the statement that before I go on stage, and certainly before I make a tape series, I always get on my knees and ask God a simple prayer, a simple request. I said, God, make this tape affect at least one person here today. When I do a function or a rally or a seminar, I always say, make this the event for at least one person. Make it theirs. Touch at least one person in this room today. And I wonder, I'm sitting here wondering, which person listening to my voice right now at this moment, which person is the one that I'm touching? Is it you? Do you know? It's your choice. It really is your decision. All you have to do is say, I'm the one. All you have to do is say, these tapes are for me. These are my tapes. This is my time. I'm ready. Is it you? I hope so. Let's continue. This is interesting. Work on a superiority complex. Patton said this way. Now, he actually gave this message to his officers prior to the landing in North Africa in November 1942. We must have a superiority complex. Always attack, never surrender. See, most of us have been raised to be modest, to avoid a inflated self-assessment of ourselves. Most of us have been told that we shouldn't be braggarts, that we should be humble. And yes, that's true. But that's a tendency that goes too far. What it does is we begin to think that other people are better than us. Other people are more talented. Other people have more determination and tenacity. Other people have more courage. Other people are stronger. Other people are smarter. Other people are luckier. And we begin to develop this self-diagnosed, self-inferiority complex. Patton said this: why accept a self-diagnosed inferiority complex? What does it gain us? If we are going to diagnose our mental state, why not bestow upon ourselves a superiority complex? At least this self-appraisal has a chance of producing the results we want. Think about it. By thinking you're not good enough ain't going to get you any results. That's a guarantee. I mean, that's flagrantly obvious. So, knowing that that doesn't work, why not take the opposite role? Why not develop a superiority complex? Why not say to yourself every morning, I feel great. I am a winner. I am an overcomer. Why not say it out loud with your mouth? And start developing that type of complex. I'm not saying be condescending to other people. Treat people like you're smarter than them and they're stupid. No. I'm talking about believing in yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a key to being an effective leader and a key to success. Next, keep moving. You keep moving and the enemy cannot hit you. When you dig a foxhole, you dig your grave. You see, a winning attitude is one of movement and progress, not digging in and holding ground. Think about that. It's moving forward. That's what the winning attitude's all about. See, you can't be hit. You can't get stuck in the mud if you're moving. And you gotta be moving. You always gotta be growing. There's no such thing as holding your position or being at a level. You always have to be moving forward. You always have to be growing. A plant, a flower, it never just is in a state of being. It's either growing or it's dying. Do you understand that? You have to make a decision. I'm going to be growing every day. I'm going to be getting better every day. It's a decision you make. When you dig a foxhole, you dig your grave. I love that. Defensive postures are illusions. Digging in may make you feel safe, but in reality, you have transformed yourself into a stationary target. In any competitive enterprise you're engaged in, action is always preferable to in action. Activity going forward is what you have to be doing. When you are not going forward, when you are not growing, it's easy to get hung up. It's easy to start thinking negative. It's easy to have hang-ups affect you. It's easy to have circumstances overcome you. It's easy to get depressed. It's easy to start losing confidence. You got to be moving forward. Patton said this: hit the books. The only right way of learning the science of war is to read and reread the campaigns of the great captains. Actually, Patton didn't write that. Patton quoted Napoleon. Now think about it. Napoleon, one of the greatest generals of all time, said the only right way of learning the science of war is to read and reread the campaigns of the great captains. Now Patton added one thing to the quotation. He commented, and think about what you read. See, those who knew Patton always called him one of a kind and an original. Yet he was the product of his own extensive reading of precisely who Napoleon recommended, the great captains. See, everyone was always amazed at Patton's ability to recall the strategic and tactical circumstances of history's great battles. See, Patton believed there really weren't any new battles. That in the course of history, essentially all battle types have been fought at one time or another. He considered it the prime responsibility of a general to know the great battles by heart and apply them appropriately. So here's the point for you. One of the reasons why you've heard so many of your own mentors tell you, read, 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 read. And in today's world, Napoleon didn't have it, we also have audio cassettes. Listen to tapes, read books. Listen to tapes, read books. Listen to tapes, read books. Is because the information in there is what you need to be focused on. How to build your business. You need to study and read and study and read and listen to tapes and study and read and listen to tapes. It's a total ongoing process. That's one of the reasons why I always recommend the two courses that I developed, Mega Speed Reading by Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader, and myself. Most of you always claim that you don't have time to read. And when you do read, you forget what you read. Do you ever read a page, get to the end of the page and say, what did I just read? Yeah. See, that's why I recommend that if you really want to be great in life, you need to start hitting the books. Get the course, Mega Speed Reading. You'll double or triple or quadruple your reading speed, guaranteed, and you'll remember more what you read. I also recommend going through the program Mega Memory. That way, when you do read or listen to tapes like this, you'll be able to remember more of the information you hear. This tape series, for example, is inundated with information. And let's be honest, you're not going to remember all this stuff the first listening to. You should be listening to this tape series over and over and over and over again. And I guarantee you, the 15th or 20th or 30th time you listen to this, 4 or 5 months from now, you'll be hearing something for the very first time when you go, wow, I never heard that before. And the things that you did hear that you forgot about, you'll hear again and you go, oh, that's right, I gotta focus on that. You'll become better. This is a very powerful series of tapes if you listen to them over and over again. But you got to read books on a consistent basis and study them. Patton says, and think about what you read. In other words, think about it. Just don't read it, but think about it. Think. What is that I just read? Or listening to a tape, because again, cassettes didn't exist in his time. So we can add tapes. What you listened to or what you read. Think about what you heard and think about what you read. If you go through Mega Speed Reading or Mega Memory, you will be able to remember more of this information and data. Very important that you are a student, an ongoing student of this business. You're a student of attitude and thinking. It's not a one-time shot, folks. Some people think that money's just going to flow into them. They can sit in front of the boob tube every night for 4 or 5 hours, drink 4 or 5 beers, Sunday afternoon watch football games, go out partying Friday and Saturday night, and expect that they're going to be independently wealthy. You know, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to do some things that other people ain't willing to do. Successful people are always doing what the other guys are too good to do. Think about that. I remember when I was in high school, a lot of my buddies on a Friday and Saturday night would go out drinking. Well, I didn't. I was going to these seminars and rallies. I was listening to tapes. I was reading books. They would be listening to music. You know, I already said this. You know, like Led Zeppelin and Kiss and all these, you know, Aerosmith, hard rock bands in the 70s. I'd be listening to motivational cassette tapes. In school, I used to bring in books like The Magic of Thinking Big, The Magic of Believing, Think and Grow Rich. I used to study them. I still do. I mean, how do you think I'm giving you all this information? I was doing a seminar once, and I was talking about how to build the business. And somebody asked me, how did you come up with all this stuff? I said, how long have you been in the business? He said, 10 years. I said, I came up with all this stuff from the tapes that you've been listening to for 10 years. And he goes, oh, no, it's not on those tapes. I go, yes, it is. I said, see, you have listened to those tapes, but you didn't hear what was being said. Do you understand that? I mean, yes, I believe that one of the gifts I have is the ability to clarify and simplify information and present it in a way where people get it. I do believe that, and I feel that that's one of my strengths. But there's a lot of people that have accomplished incredible amounts, that have wonderful hearts, that try to communicate the data and maybe can't. Or books that are written that are maybe a little bit difficult to read, but that's why Patton says, think about what you read. Or in the view of cassettes, think about what you're listening to. Very significant. Very, very important. Learn from the facts. Here's what Patton says. We passed the scene of the tank battle during the initial German breakthrough. I counted over 100 American armored fighting vehicles along the roadside. They were all destroyed. I issued an order, subsequently carried out, that every tank should be examined, and the direction, caliber, and type of hit which put it out of order made a record, so that we would have the data from which to construct a better tank. You see, Patton was a great believer in working from facts, and he continually collected data, always with the object of improving performance in the future. See, information is all around us, and it's your job to collect the useful data, analyze it, and make profitable use of that information. See, don't rely on secondhand opinion when your experience is so effective as a teacher. Think about that. Don't rely on secondhand opinions. Rely on factual information. Collect data all the time. You see, most things that people call facts aren't facts, they're opinions. I was with Ron Ball backstage at a function, and him and I were talking. We must have talked for 2 or 3 hours, and he has spectacular books, spectacular tapes, and an absolutely brilliant communicator and motivator from the stage. A wonderful, brilliant man. I enjoyed talking to him so much. He has so much knowledge and information, and he's someone that I can learn a great deal from. And as we were talking, I have a habit when I ask questions, because I use a word consistently, which is specifically, what is such and such? Specifically, what is such and such? Specifically, how did that occur? Specifically, how many? I use the 6 honest serving men. What, when, where, who, how, and why. And I generally use them in that order. I get the facts first. What happened? When specifically did it happen? Or when precisely did it happen? Where exactly did it occur? Who specifically was there? What, when, where, who, those are facts. Then how do you think it happened? Opinion. And why do you think it occurred? Now, I asked for specific data. not generalizations, specifics. And as I was talking, Ron looked at me and he said, it's interesting. You use that word, specific, over and over again. And I just smiled. I said, because I don't like making opinions without specific data and accurate information and facts. I can't assume something. Example, someone said, we got inundated with phone calls today. Or, we got a ton of phone calls today. Or, we got a bunch of negative phone calls today. And I go, exactly how many calls came in? A lot. Specifically, how many calls came in? I'm looking for a number. 3. We got 3 phone calls. That's correct. How many were negative? 2. Okay. And the other one? Well, it was a positive comment. Okay. So what you classified as a ton of phone calls, a slew of phone calls, inundated with phone calls, a bunch of phone calls, was actually 2. Did they give their names? No, they were anonymous. They don't even count. Do you understand that? We have to be learning from facts and making decisions based on facts. But most people don't do that. See, if I said we got a bunch of phone calls today, you may think, oh my God, we must have got 100 or 200 or 300. Maybe the phone's constantly ringing off the hook. See, that's what your picture could be. Do you understand? But you need to make decisions. You need to be able to be analyzing factual data so that you can do things better. You can't assume stuff. You need facts, accurate, specific facts and data, so that you can make appropriate, intelligent decisions and you can make things better the next time. One of the reasons why I think I've been successful in marketing is because I've always looked at accurate and specific facts, and I've used them to improve what I was doing. I could measure improvement. Sometimes I would develop a marketing campaign, get the facts and data, and let's say our return rate was 30%. I then tried different things to reduce return rate. You understand? And some of the things I tried didn't reduce, and increased, and some actually worked. But you can't make those decisions. You can't learn anything unless you collect accurate facts. And that was something that Patton always did. Next, consider the source. There are more tired division commanders than there are tired divisions. Tired officers are always pessimists. Remember this when evaluating reports. Now think about this. Let's talk about you, and then we'll talk about if you do have people in your organization. If you're tired, it's easy to be pessimistic, but the situation may not be. Maybe an optimistic, good scenario that you're dealing with, but you may be negative. When you're evaluating a report from an individual, that individual may be negative or pessimistic because he may be tired, he may be beat up, but his organization, his group, his area may not be. You have to be sensitive to the emotional state of people in your organization, including yourself. See, we can't assume that the reports and information you receive are all objective. Most of them are going to be subjective. They're going to be somebody's opinion. You understand that? You need to make sure that people take care of themselves, don't overwork, don't get tired. I had a guy, for example, I've been busting his butt. He's been working virtually 7 days a week, and I could hear in his voice when he was tired. Physically tired, emotionally drained. And I said, listen, get off the phone. I want you to take that priority manager of yours. I want you to shut it. I want you to close it. And I'm giving you a direct order now. And I want you to physically walk out and throw that priority manager in your car. I want you to lock that car, and I want you to give the keys to your wife. And then I want you to lay down and watch some TV and rest, or go to a movie or something. He said, I got work to do. I says, I'm giving you a direct order. And says, you can get that work done tomorrow. You'll be more effective because you'll be fresh. You'll be more enthusiastic, and you can handle it. Then what I did is I got on, while he was sleeping, because he's in a different country, And I sent him a bunch of emails motivating him, telling him how much I appreciated him and what I thought about his work and how brilliant he was and how tirelessly he was working, and I believed that he could even do more. We woke up the next morning, he did feel better, and he wrote me back. He says, "How did you know I needed all those emails?" And I just wrote back and said, "That's why I get the big bucks." Think about it. You see, you have to know your own limits, because you could be coming up against a situation where you're emotionally tired, you're emotionally and physically drained. And when that occurs, you are going to be pessimistic. So don't take counsel in that pessimistic thoughts. That's a time you need to take a break and take a rest. You need to consider where the information is coming from. In addition to that, Patton said this: consider the circumstances. In war, nothing is ever as bad or as good as it is reported to higher headquarters. Think about it. Nothing is ever as bad as it seems, and nothing is ever as good as it seems. You see that? You have to understand that information coming to you, whether it's from a customer, whether it's somebody in your organization, it's never as good as it's reported to you and never as bad. So don't overreact either way. That's very important as a leader. And how you think yourself, it's significant. Next, prepare your own luck. Fortune is a woman who must be wooed while she is in the mood. Again, Patton didn't write that. Napoleon wrote that. Let me define it. Here's what Patton says: no good leader disdains luck, chance, and circumstance, but no good leader passively them either. Part of leadership is becoming sensitive and open to what fortune and circumstances have to offer, and taking advantage of these opportunities when they present themselves, not before and certainly not after. The bottom line is, if you think properly, if you do the things that I'm saying to do, your own energy is going to be projecting in such a way where you will become luckier. And there will be opportunity that presents itself to you. It'll look like fortune is shining on you. Take advantage. Take advantage. Expect it. When you expect to be lucky, if you physically say with your mouth, "I'm lucky, I'm lucky, I'm lucky." You know, a friend of mine down in Australia, Renee Rifkin, one of the richest men in that country, I was sitting in the hot tub on his yacht. Yeah, he has a hot tub on his yacht. And we were sitting around smoking a cigar, and we were just cruising the harbor, and it was just a glorious day, and him and I were just talking and laughing. And I said, "Renee, you're so wealthy." I said, "Are you smarter than other people?" And he says, "I can tell you this, I'm incredibly lucky." I said, "Have you always been lucky?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Okay. Can I be lucky?" And he said, "I don't know. Are you lucky?" Do you understand that? And I said, "Well, how do I answer the question? Do I answer the question based on what has happened in the past, or what I want for the future?" And he just smiled and he said, "Whether you think you are or think you ain't, either way it's correct." Think about that. You can start saying today, "I'm lucky." Forget what happened in the past. You can say, starting today, I've just become a lucky person. Starting today, this moment, I now have a lucky star over my head. I just had a black cloud removed. The curse came off me. Today, a genie came out of a bottle and granted me one wish. My wish was, I want to be lucky. And my genie said, "Yes, you are." And then you start saying out loud, "I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I'm always lucky. Everything always works in my direction. Everything works to my advantage. Everything always goes my way. No matter what happens, I always land on my feet." physically say that with your mouth. Hello? Are you listening? This is the type of conversations you have to have with yourself. You need to lead yourself. Then you'll see results. And the results, gang, will be spectacular. Whatever you do, decide. When a decision has to be made, make it. There is no totally right time for anything. Do you understand that? Every leader has to make decisions. And you have to make concessions. Nothing is ever perfect. There's no right time to take action. You can't be planning for everything. You have to take control and make a decision now. Do you understand? They asked Ronald Reagan, how is it that you had this incredible string of correct decisions? How did you make all the right decisions? And Ronald Reagan said, no, you misunderstand. I made decisions. Then I went about making sure that they were right. Do you understand that? You need to make decisions that are consistent with your values and with your overall objectives. That's what has to happen. See, his other point about decisions was this. It is fatal to wait for perfection. The best is the enemy of the good. By this I mean that a good plan, violently executed now, is better than a perfect plan next week. Do you understand that? Do you understand? A good plan, violently executed now, is better than a perfect plan next week. See? Now you have to note, Patton never advised against careful planning. As a matter of fact, he demanded his offers to be perfect and follow through.